Well, here's a bit of excitement for everybody. So, long story short, my grandmother, who is getting up there in years, sadly, was moved out of her house and into a care home. So, they're actually selling her house to help fund her care. So, when my dad went back to get a bunch of stuff and furniture and things like that, he found his old Intellivision, and he asked me if I wanted it. Now, of course I said yes, because, duh. But I really didn't expect anything amazing. I figured, maybe a dusty old console, maybe 2 or 3 games. Because I never known my dad to be a really big gamer. It's never been his way. Well, I was surprised, pleasantly so. When he threw it at me, like he just put it in front of me and said, "Here you go, this is yours now." I'm like, "What? This is all the you have? What?" To be fair, like condition of these boxes. I mean, their cardboard isn't ideal, but I mean the fact that he still had the boxes at all. I think every game he owns is still in the box. And like they're all organized and neat and jeez. And to make it even better, the manuals. He kept those too. So, this was something I absolutely had to discuss. But before we get on that, I'm sure you're mostly curious about ta-da! The Intellivision by Mattel Electronics. Now, I adore this. I gotta show you this first. This is great. Intelligent television. I have so many questions about this tagline. Is this like, did they think this was an early idea of smart TV? I don't know. It's actually pretty heavy. And yeah, so if you've never seen one of these before, I mean, in real life, I don't blame you. Released in 1979, this was released as a direct competitor to the far more famous Atari 2600. Like I said, released by Mattel, the toy company. And in many ways, looking at the design, I can tell you it probably was considered to be a toy. And back then, the idea of adults playing video games, it was considered a kid's thing. And that mentality lasted for at least 2 more decades until fairly recently. And even now, we still got people who think that adults can't play video games, but whatever. Yeah. Based on the design, I believe it was meant for kids. Definitely was the idea. It appears that both wires, both the AC out and the TV out, are hardwired into the console, which is a factor I absolutely despise. The TV one doesn't look like it is, but I tried pulling on this. I don't want to do very hard because I'm gonna break it. It didn't budge. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's hardwired in. This one definitely is. It goes actually inside the console. And so it does end in a simple plug, so that's nice. And for the TV out, we got some old school nonsense going on. We got one of these. Back in the day, that was your game and TV switch. And because everyone had an antenna, because cable was still a luxury idea if it was available at all, you had these 2 forks. Now this end here, this is not standard. This is an adapter that can be used to plug into the cable out or cable in of most TVs that have it. Because how many TVs do you own that have an antenna? You don't. I guarantee you don't. Or if you do, it's as old as time. It's not a thing anymore. So, but this adapter it converts the signal so you can plug it into a normal TV, or at least modern TV, so that's good. And roughly, it's about the same size as the 2600, but it's definitely heavier than a 2600. Feels like there's, I don't know if it's just really thick plastic or more metal going into this design, but it is absolutely, it's not like outrageously heavy. I can lift it with one, it's not like it's like really heavy. I just noticed that it's heavier than I thought it was going to be for a console like this. But back in the day, this was fairly state-of-the-art in terms of a home console. Again, those were new things in 1979. Yeah. But brief size comparison, here is a Xbox 360 Slim, so you can see it's about as thick, but it's a little longer. The 360 is definitely heavier, though, in case you were wondering about that. So, let's talk about the console itself. Reset, which is nice, and the on-off switch. Now, these two buttons, I've been fighting with this thing about working. It does work, but it's definitely been, it's been sitting around for 2 decades, at least. My dad said the last time we played it was before I was born. I'm 31. So, I'm sorry, 3 decades. I forget how old I'm getting. And so, you know, there's certain... I actually cleaned it off quite a bit. There's still a few gummy spots that I don't know what that is. I couldn't get that off. But the on-off switch is a little funny. I have to press it down, basically, in order to get it to... It'll move, but it won't necessarily turn on unless I push it down, so I think the mechanism's a little loose. Reset works sometimes, and sometimes it doesn't. Cartridge slot is on the side, as this is a cartridge-based system. I think I need to clean this out. I haven't gotten any Q-tips to actually do that yet, but I believe that's the problem we're having, because a lot of the errors I'm running into, based on my research, seem to have to do with the cartridge. The games themselves are in pretty good shape because they've been kept in boxes. And let's talk about the elephant in the room. Boy howdy, those controllers. Alright, so both of which... There's 2 controllers, which is nice. They are hardwired into the console. Let me show you the one without the overlay first. And... They have this coil... I'm sorry. Some of you may be too young to remember, but back in the day, this was a standard phone cord, basically. All phones... I mean, the wireless phones weren't really a thing back in this time, and all phones had these coil cords that could, you know, that were a bit more springy, so it can go a little longer than, you know, at least warn you when you're walking away from the phone so you don't, like, knock it off. Why they opted for that with this design, I don't know. Maybe to save space, because, you know... You can put a lot of length, even though it's, you know, but it automatically springs back and compresses. The controller itself, I believe, is modeled like a TV remote. I mean, I guess maybe that goes with the theme Intelligent Television. But you have a number pad, an enter button, a clear button. There's buttons on the sides, 1, 2 here, and 1, 2 here. And there's this thing. Now, this is missing, there's supposed to be a metal disc on top of this. Neither controller has it, they must have fallen off. It looks like they were only held on with a tiny, maybe a screw in the middle, so I'm not surprised that they would have just fallen off. But it does work. So what these do, they're kind of like old school D-pads, I almost want to say, because you can press, you know, different areas of the disc in order to go up, left, or, you know, left, right, down, etc. But it's not like as sensitive as like an analog stick, like at least these aren't. So it's not like it's, you know, super precise based on the design, and they can be used as a button, just pressing it in. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen in terms of a game console. They were obviously experimenting with different control schemes and weren't really sure where they were going with it. But yeah, this is your controller, and yes, it is held like this. It's not like this, which, you know, might be interesting. That might have worked, I guess, even though this is still weird. But yeah, no, it's meant to be held like a TV remote, and you just do the height. Not ideal, but it was 1979, so I'm not going to get too hard on it. They did actually offer, oops, my bad, most games came with overlays, which helped with the controls, especially for B-17 Bomber here, because it told you what the buttons actually do. Because most games weren't a bit large enough to actually put the instructions in the cartridge themselves, so to save space, you would have the instruction manual. Again, I'm glad that my dad saved those. And the overlays also told you, like, you know, B-17 is actually a fairly complicated game for the time. I think every single button on the controller does something for B-17 Bomber. This is actually one of the games I've played right now. Believe it or not, the games, my dad actually swore by this game when I laughed when I saw it, because I remember, you know, the AVGN stick about the voice modulation. My dad said actually the game is actually really good, which it dawned on me that AVGN didn't actually review the game itself. He just made fun of the voice, which, yeah, we're not gonna go there. But yeah, these overlays are, I mean, they're fine. They're just plastic, you know, overlays that stick over the buttons and, you know, line up what you're actually supposed to be doing. So they're good to have. if you want to know what the heck you're doing in a game, that or the manuals, I have both because he saved everything. So yeah, that's your lot. The only thing I noticed whenever I started using the controllers again is the rubber on the side, apparently because it hadn't been used in a while, it's that kind of rubber that likes to get sticky without getting used. I cleaned them off and they're okay now, but yeah, there was kind of this liquid, gunky, sticky on them. And as you may notice, because they're hardwired into the console, they're a little. Kind of have to mess with it here to just like scrunch the wire underneath this grate or whatever, and they sit there. They're supposed to sit flush. It's kind of hard to get them to do that, but either way, it's designed to be this one unit that you just plug in and play. And I think in that regard, it's actually a brilliant design. But the problem is, by modern standards, this is ridiculous. If both cables are hardwired in, how am I going to replace them if one breaks? What if a dog chews through one? You have to replace the entire console. Same with the controllers. If one of these wires goes or one of the controllers just stops working, you can't actually just easily take the controller out because they are, like, literally a part of the console. So, not very good future-proofing on the old Intellivision here. In terms of its actual internal specs when it comes to games, you might be curious, this is technically the first 16-bit console released. Now, it is in no way on the same level as a Sega Genesis or a Super Nintendo. The visuals are not even close. But it does technically have a 16-bit processor inside it, so it is considered to be the first 16-bit console. Visuals on the games are actually considered superior to Atari, and they are. And that was actually one of the big things about it. The old commercials for the Intellivision pushed the graphical prowess of the console. In fact, they were very, very similar to the kind of commercials you'd see from Sega just 10 years later for the Genesis or Mega Drive, when they were touting how good the Genesis looked compared to the NES. And the Intellivision does have a better graphical output than 2600, at least by comparison. Now, by today's standards, they're both squares, and Intellivision is slightly more square. I mean, it's still like pre-NES style gaming here, but for the time it was top tier in terms of its visual output. The problem that I've had with it so far is simply the controller is just. It's terrible. The Atari 2600 controller was a simple joystick and a single button. There were a few, auxiliary controllers like the Gemini you could get too, but like that simplicity compared to this whatever this is, does make it so that a lot of the games aren't as fun to play on the Intellivision when compared to the 2600 lots. And there are quite a number of games on the Intellivision that, if they're not official ports, they are straight rip-offs from Atari 2600 games. So that is something else to mention. Nothing really of note on the console itself, but there was one other thing that when I saw it, my dad has the Intellivoice voice synthesis module. You might have already guessed this might be the case because he had B-17 Bomber, which is the game that's in here. But yes, this is a voice modulation device. Having real voices back in the day in a game, in a console generation where you had beeps and boops and nothing else, was admittedly an innovative and cool thing. He said he bought this for $25, which I think with inflation is like $100 maybe, which is still a pretty good price for something like this. Although nowadays it's worth about $25 on eBay. It's really not that rare, at least not in terms of looking for it. But I also tested this; it does work. And yes, B-17 Bomber does sound just as ridiculous as you think it does. But I still think it deserves applaud for the innovation here. And just so we're clear. You may assume that the voice is coming from this box, but no, it actually sends the signal through the console itself, and it comes out the TV. And considering it plugs into the cartridge port, that's actually a fairly impressive mechanic there. So yeah, that's pretty cool. So yeah, it would slide into the side here. The other thing about the cartridge port that I noticed is that it's the weirdest thing, because the cartridge port on the Intellivision itself is a disaster. You have to push really hard to get anything to go in it. But the cartridge port on the IntelliVoice, which all the games have to run through when you have it hooked up, is pretty typical. Like it works. It feels, you know, pretty good. You know, like a proper cartridge port. So I guess when they designed the IntelliVoice, maybe they knew that people didn't like the port on the Intellivision, so they made that at least feel a little bit better. So I guess that's something. But yeah. So in terms of sales, you may be wondering how it did versus the 2600. Well, the 2600 is obviously much more of a household name even to this day. It's one of the most famous game consoles ever made. The Intellivision actually did give it a run for its money, though. It sold fairly well at the time, and it had a couple versions made after it. The Intellivision 2, I believe there was also a 3, both of which, the 2 I know that I've seen it, it's smaller, it's more compact, but it's still got everything hardwired into it, so they didn't really fix that problem. But yeah. So it did a decent job. It's, you know, for its era, especially considering at the time there were like a gajillion game consoles available. There were, you know, Fairchild, Channel F, the ColecoVision, Intellivision, Atari, Atari 5200, which was thrown in the mix too. I mean, there was so many. You know, everyone was trying to do this because, again, at the time they were kind of marketed as toys, so people were jumping, you know, on this new, you know, this new market. So there was a lot of competition. So the Intellivision did pretty well considering what it was dealing with. Atari had a stranglehold on the market, and there was a lot of other competition mixed in, but the Intellivision did a pretty decent job. I believe by the end of its life it had sold about 3 million units, which isn't that bad for the time. So anyway, let's put you off to the side and bring in the main event here. I haven't looked at all of these because I didn't want to. I wanted us to have some surprises. So the manuals here are, I haven't been through these. Intellivision, this looks like the manual for the Intellivision itself. I just love these, look at these guys. Like, they got a Halloween party and wow. So yeah, there they are again. Intellivision, intelligent television. Your TV's just gonna come alive and, you know, make it so that it owns you now. So we have intelligent cartridge instructions for the skiing game. This is a eye test. What the hell? I have no idea why that's in here. Again, intelligent television. Is this tennis? Yeah, these are just like, I don't know why he has so many of these. Looks like they have different stuff inside. Yeah, there's another one. If I had to guess, I would say that these probably came with every game that was purchased from the Intellivision to advertise other games. So it was probably just like a freebie, like, oh, you bought a Intellivision game, here, have this book with a whole bunch of other games that we want you to buy. That's my assumption here. So this is the actual Intellivision Intelligent System Master Component. Frickin' Tron Legacy. That is a check from something. Not a check, a bill. I don't know what that is. I'll look at that later. I'm gonna hide that. Yeah, it looks like some other stuff got mixed in here. Like I said, he just pulled this stuff out. I don't know why. Yeah, there's just so many of these people just trying to sell me stuff. I think most of the manuals are still in the boxes, which makes sense. Oh, hold on. Here's exciting. 90-day limited warranty. I wonder if I called Mattel. Let's see. This is from 1983. Excellent. All right, that was something. All right, let's look at the game. This is what you guys want to see. I am going to do this video in 2 parts, by the way, because I have to get footage of all the games, and that's going to take me some time because I don't know if you noticed, there's a lot here. So I am just going to casually go through and take a look at each game, and we'll see what they are. So the first one we got is Tron Deadly Discs, which, I mean, it's a Tron game. Tron was big in the 70s and 80s. Still has a cult following. I like Tron. But yeah, I believe this is actually one that the AVG uncovered himself, and apparently it's not very good. Looking at the... Oops, almost dropped it. Looking at the... Are the overlays in here? I don't see them. That's not good. Because from what I remember, he had the overlay, and... oh boy. see any overlays in here. Also, do you like this? How do you get this out? How did he ever get this out without breaking the box? Because there's like a, you see that? What the heck? How do you get the game out? Did he ever play this? Oh, no, I see. Okay, it's one of those boxes. So a few boxes open to the side, but some of them open like this. Ah, there's our overlay. See, you throw the disc in a variety of different directions, which is pretty innovative, but apparently it didn't work very well. So yeah, this is a cartridge. There's pretty much never any art on the cartridges. It's just got the name. End labels is nice, but yeah, the actual, there's no art on these games generally. Unlike with Atari and most other consoles, even at the time, had artwork. So, this is Frogbog. Okay, now I know exactly what this is. Frogbog is a ripoff of, well, that Frog game on 2600. You know, the ones where you're on the lily pads and you, oh, here, I'll show you. You're on the lily pads and you jump up and down and you catch flies. It sounds really dumb, but it's actually one of the more fun games of the era. So this is the Intellivision version. The controls make this one difficult, from what I remember. It does look nicer than the Atari version, but it is much harder to control. So, you know, take what you can there, I guess. Next up, we have Lock and Chase. I have no idea what this is. The art, let's see, that man looks like, God, look at that snidey whiplash mustache. I love this guy. You'll never take me alive. Oh no, you've caught me. Anyway, so bloody hell, this isn't a. Is this a Pac-Man ripoff? That's what it looks like. Why would I ever assume that? It looks nothing like. It might be a Pac-Man ripoff. Let's see. Your thief is robbing the local bank. 4 police officers are on his tail. Grab gold coins and treasures on the run. Keep one jump ahead of the law. When the cops close in, lock a door, make tracks in another direction, run smack into a cop, and you're caught. There's nowhere to hide. So based on what I just read, it's a slightly modified version of Pac-Man. Because you couldn't lock doors in Pac-Man, but yeah, I mean, there's 4 cops, 4 ghosts. Yeah, it's just a Pac-Man clone. But it might be fun. You know, like Pac-Man was one of the most heavily ripped off games. But generally, if they copied it well, I mean, it's still going to be Pac-Man, and Pac-Man's good. So we'll see how that goes. Ah, here we go. NHL Hockey, 1979. Actually, which year was this one? I'm kind of curious. It doesn't tell me on the side. I really want to know what year NHL Hockey was put out. Does it have an updated roster? Probably not. It's probably just hockey. Looking at the back, yep, that's definitely hockey. Looks pretty nice though. So if it controls decently, it might actually be an alright hockey game, at least for the era. I'm sure it, you know, has aged like milk. I will definitely take NHL on Sega Genesis over this, or any modern NHL game. But hey, you know, old school. Skiing. And this was normal for the era. Like, at the time, nothing had to have a fancy name. It was just the sport. NHL Hockey is actually unique because it has, you know, the NHL endorsement. Whereas skiing is just, it's a skiing. U.S. ski team. Does that have a, it just has a copyright on it. It doesn't actually say what year, though. I really want to know what some of these games, when some of these games came out. I have to do research before I actually put out the video with the games. But skiing looks like it's a typical skiing game going back and forth through the flags. It's probably fine. 2 race courses. Competition for 1 to 6 players. What the hell? You only have 2. Well, I bet you it's one of those games where it's multiplayer, but each player takes turns. So yeah, and I mean sometimes some games even nowadays do that. Behold, soccer. Notice how this one isn't FIFA soccer, even though we had NHL Hockey, so they couldn't get the FIFA endorsement for this one. But that's possibly because they were an American company and soccer isn't nearly as popular in America. It's a 2-player game. It looks like a soccer pitch. Yep, that's what that looks like. So again, if it plays well, it's probably fine. Probably fine. It looks like they were pretty good about getting endorsements for the Intellivision, because we have Major League Baseball, MLB. You're out. This, I mean, it looks like baseball, but I don't like how far back that camera is. It could be interesting. Does take a look-see. It's open up front here. Take a look inside this one. I don't want to open up all these, but I will. There is an overlay. Oh goodness, my dad played this a lot because these are ripped up. Yeah, we got bat, bunt, move player, pitch. So yeah, 1979. This was an early one. And it only says baseball on the cartridge though, not MLB baseball. So, but I really like these open up boxes though. They're very cool. Very interesting that way. And of course we have to talk about NFL football. Football. This is America. We play football. We play football over here too. Not the right kind of football. It's the one where you got a bunch of sweaty men tackling each other in the middle of a giant field. Wait, I shouldn't have phrased it that way. Anyway, yep, it's football. I actually have played this one before because I owned a collection on this PlayStation of a bunch of Intellivision games. This was on there. It's not great. Mostly because it's hard. At the time, it was hard to put football into these kind of games because football is a complicated game. It's not as simple as soccer or even hockey. There's a lot of rules, a lot of different things that go into it. Like oh god, I'm sorry. I'm looking at this overlay and having a freaking conniption. It looks like this one. You can see that the overlay, it's worn through, like the paint chipped off. So, but yeah, it looks like they press pass an awful lot of times. Man, there's a lot of options for a game of this type, but I guess it worked out for the... Maybe it's because I was playing on a PlayStation controller. Maybe if I play it with the real original Intellivision controller, I might have a better time with it. Who frickin' knows? Anyway, next up on our list, we have... bowling! Yep, it's bowling. Oh, there's two different views, though. One where you see it from the sideways when you roll the ball, and then you see it hit the pins. So it's probably not bad, at least for the time. I bumped the camera there. Sorry about that. You're probably having a motion sickness panic attack. Don't do that. It's okay. All right, this is a green box. What do we got here? This is... okay, Las Vegas poker and blackjack. We got some dancing girls. We got a couple that... this man has that's a trophy wife. That's what, if ever, that or it's a prostitute. It is Vegas after all. Everyone, we have our, everyone's gambling like it's freaking 1960s up in here. Good lord. There's an overlay for the. What the hell? How could you make this? I mean, I guess maybe poker I get, but blackjack, like you press one button. So dealer's choice. Yeah, that's which all those are for the poker game. Yep. That's, look, I don't know why you'd ever want to play this on Intellivision, but hey, it's there. It's an option. It's an option. Okay, let me pull all these out at once, because these are interesting. These are our voice games. Except for Demon Attack. We'll put that off to the side, not that one. Oh, there's a disc manual I got down there. The opposite side of it. I don't know, man. I don't even keep track anymore. I should be thankful. So we have Bomb Squad. The code. Figure out the code. My dad even said when I asked him about it, he said this game is violently irritating because it never shuts the hell up. So yeah, but this was one of the ones available for voice of this cartridge. There were only like 4 games that worked with it. My dad has 3 of them, so I guess I should be grateful. But yeah, he said Bomb Squad's very annoying. Wasn't a fan of that. He says he loves B-17. So. But my dad's a very... this is one of the ones I definitely played a little bit of. And basically, you kind of fly around the map, and then you bomb stuff. It's surprisingly complicated, but it's kind of all right. It's an all right game, especially for the era. And then we also have Space Spartans, which is also available through the voice... for the voice modulator. So yeah, that's pretty cool. This one's from 1981, according to the overlays. Alright, those are the only 3 voice games we got going on right now. But the other one here is Demon Attack. Interesting box for this one. This is not one that opens in the front, well, not obviously, you probably couldn't catch that. It doesn't open in the front. But yeah, Demon Attack. Sounds pretty serious. Especially for something that was marketed for a toy at the time, but just some freaking soccer mom was like, oh my god, this is gonna possess you. Everything fell out of it. That's cool. We got some more overlays. That's exciting. And the cartridge itself. This one does have cartridge art, however. What am I? I'm sorry. I gotta get a close look through my eyes. What the what? Well, it would help if I held it up the right way. So there appears to be a a space lizard with wings, I think, and this game looks nuts. All right, I guarantee the game itself won't be nearly as awesome as that box art would lead you to believe. The game apparently is a space shooter, but a nice looking one for the era, though. I'll give it that. So, hey, maybe it's all right. I'll put that in the back of the box later. Everything fell out of it. That didn't go well. All right, next up we got Burger Time. It's exactly what it's arcade Burger Time. It's exactly what you think it is. Very good game. Very classic arcade game. Most people have heard of it at the very least. This version is all right. Looks okay. Nothing really to say about it. If you get past the controller, it's just a fine version of Burger Time. So no problems there. Space Armada. I adore the artwork on this box. It looks pretty good. Opening it up, we have... Bloody hell, is this what I think it is? This is Space Invaders. Okay. Astro Smash. Looking at the back, it looks kind of like Missile Command, but it looks like you move around, you only have one thing to shoot. Yeah. Astro Smash, okay, another space shooter. That box fell off. We should probably pick that up later. Space Battle! There's a lot of space. A lot of space going on here. So much space, so many battles, so much war, so much death. I have no idea what I'm looking at. It looks like this kind of protect the mothership, alien invaders approaching, deploy astro fighters, stand by to intercept, switch to a cockpit close-up, command space defense, fire missiles, turn back the attack, stop yelling at me! Okay, outer space action, science fiction thrills, computer-controlled alien invaders attacking, you check the mothership radar map, deploy the defense, ready, aim, fire missiles, win the battle, save the day! I guarantee this is not nearly as exciting as you are making it out to be, but props to you guys for giving it a good shot. Oh dear. Star Strike. Is it the prequel to Desert Strike on the Sega Genesis? Probably not. Ooh, we got some nice 3D effects going on here. That's pretty cool. And inside we have... There's an overlay. Let's see, I haven't shown you all the overlays because they're all... I mean, some of them are needed, some of them aren't. This one looks like it's... Well, this is definitely less complicated than a lot of the games we've talked about so far. Looking at that. Yeah, it looks like an alright, not a space shooter. But those were pretty easy to program. So I'm not really surprised that there's quite a few of those, and they're fun games, so hey. What's this? Ooh, another overlay. This one is for triple action, apparently. We haven't even gotten to that game. And then, yep, it's all the way down there. Put that up there to put it back with this game. Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. That magnificent classic Dungeons & Dragons artwork. You gotta love that. This is... Yeah, that's one of the smallest... It looks better on the camera than it does in real life. I can barely read a word of that. So, yeah, Dungeons & Dragons. I have no idea how this would ever work. It looks like an old-school adventure game done in the style of D&D. One or more can play, 4 skill levels. Obstacles include brown and black mountains, rivers, forests, walls. Monsters include dragons, demons, snakes, bats, rats, spiders, and the winged dragons. As opposed to the regular dragons. These ones have wings. They're scarier. Each type of monster has different characteristics for you to discover. Tools to overcome obstacles and arrows to slay monsters must be found in caves. You start with 3 arrows. Cave rooms and passages light up as you enter them. Who knows what evil lurks in the next room? Exciting sound effects highlight gameplay. You mean beeping? This looks surprisingly ambitious for a game of this era. I'd be interested in it. I am a D&D fan. I have played D&D in real life. I feel like this might be not nearly as fun as just playing at tabletop, but hey, it's cool. But apparently it sold well enough because we also have Advanced Dungeons & Dragons Treasure of Tarmin. My dad has 2 of these. Again, with that classic Dungeons & Dragons, that's a lich. That's a giant enemy scorpion. That's an orc. That's a castle, and there's a dude going into the castle. He's going in alone, which means he's probably going to die. Don't split the party. Anyway, this looks... Ooh! Alright, so this is a little bit different. This has like a first-person, like Eye of the Beholder style segment on Intellivision. I'm legitimately intrigued by this, to see how well that went. Because, wow, ooh, this box does not open up. This one you actually have to open up from the top. And, my goodness, okay, this had water spilled on it at some point. Interesting. But this is one of the thickest manuals for a game I've found so far on the Intellivision. I feel like there might be a reason for that. And I bumped the camera! Oh no, I should probably have locked the angle before I did that. That's me messing up with my tripod. Sorry about that. I'm terrible. Everyone's gonna unsubscribe from me and I'm a loser. Oh yeah, it hurts my feelings. I don't really care. I mean, I do care, but yeah, don't unsub. In fact, have you subbed yet? Anyway, yeah, I'm trying to get this back in the box. It's not working. I'll do it later. Jeez. Next up, we got Sea Battle. Nice artwork. Looks like, oh, old school, mass management style game? That's what I'm getting. Deploy fleets, aircraft carrier, troop transport, battleships, submarines, destroyers, PT boats, Mineslayer, and Minesweeper. Did I say PT boats? Patrol boats, but whatever. You know what I meant. And, yeah. Nothing too exciting. I don't know how to feel about this one. It looks like each button selects a different type of ship, so it looks like you can control the ships independently of each other, which would have been pretty cool back then on the Intellivision. This might be a lot more fun than it looks, at least for me. I like those kind of mass strategy games. So, Sub Hunt. Again, is this another one of those? Oh no! This is looking through a submarine periscope and actually controlling a submarine. That looks like it could be neat. Excited to see that one. Hopefully it's this is fun for me as it looks like it is. Let's see, we got Triple Action. Triple Action is, remember Combat on the 2600? It's that, except I don't remember if I don't think Combat had a car racing game. But Combat did have the tanks, and I believe it also had the planes. Biplanes, battle tanks, and car racing. So this is pretty much, yeah, this is the Intellivision version of Combat. Why it's called Triple Action, I mean, I guess there's 3 game modes. Looks like it's alright. If it plays like Combat, it's probably fine. It's probably a good game. Combat was actually a really alarmingly fun game. Like way more fun than you'd think. Snafu! I guarantee, I promise you, you've seen this game before, somewhere. It has been ripped off, copied. I mean, there are Flash versions of this game from the year 1999. This is a very old and very popular... I wouldn't say it's very popular, it's just people know it and it's fun. It is a fun game, so... Yeah, that's tell her. Does this have an overlay? Please tell me. Frickin' why? I think this actually makes it more confusing, because I have no idea what this would have to do with... What? Thanks for the enter and the... Or maybe it just shows the button because it uses so... It wouldn't really use the keypad because it would just use the frickin' wheel to move, you know, in any direction. So you really... Why do they even bother? I don't get it. Last one we got, at least as far as this collection, Armor Battle. It is a tank game, not like Combat or Triple Threat, whatever it was called. This is, looks like it's more strategic. It's a 2-player game. You and your opponent each have 2 tanks. You play your tactics on over hundreds of different battlefield maps. Really, hundreds? Are you sure? It'll be interesting. Assess the battlefield, avoid mines, and move quickly over roads and slowly through fields or water. But what if I want to move quickly through fields or water? 0 out of 10, worst game ever. Not really. So we got another overlay. Ooh, these are nice overlays. He must have barely touched this one. Switch tanks forward, shoot forward. Lay mine. So it looks like the controls were pretty simple for this one as well. Ooh! And something interesting about this one, it's got some tank art on the label, which is rare. Most of these have had to adjust the text, and Demon Attack had, like, he's the only one that had any art. That has a little tank on it, so looks like it might be a neat game, maybe, but the fact that my dad didn't play it very much is alarming. It may not be nearly as fun as I'm hoping it is. So yeah, that is my dad's Intellivision collection. I don't know what this is. What is this? This is Swiggles. It's just like a pad. Looking at this somebody was doing math, and based on the handwriting, it was a child. And given the fact that this might be from my little sister, because I never made my twos that way. Analyzing old handwriting, a treasure trove of knowledge through my childhood. We're going to ignore that. And there's also... Hold on, there was one more thing that came with this I'll show you. First of all, you may recognize this as a sleeve for a Nintendo NES game. You also may recognize this was chewed to bits by a dog. I'm pretty sure I know exactly which dog. His name was Clyde. He was a good boy, except when it came to not chewing on games. There were two other things that came with this, relevant to the NES. Well, one is relevant to the NES. We sold my NES in the 90s, which in retrospect I really wish I hadn't done, but I bought a PS2 with it. But we couldn't find the zapper. Someone had found the zapper and put it in with my dad's Intellivision. Go frickin' figure. Yeah, it's in remarkably good shape because it hasn't been used in 30 years, but it's just been sitting there. So, yeah, that's a thing. It's also the old gray one before they were like, you have to protect the children. There was also Sonic the Hedgehog manual. How that got mixed in, I don't know, but it's not even really a manual. It's just like an ad for hold on. I had one of these. This is the second one I've ever seen. This is a poster for the Genesis, as well as a Toe Jam and Earl poster. Nice. Okay. Anyway, back to the Intellivision. So yes, the Intellivision is definitely an interesting look into what gaming was like back then. Obviously, many things have changed. Many things have been improved. It is absolutely in no way aged well, but it's classic. You have to admit that. Now, in terms of whether or not this thing works, I'm sure many of you are wondering, because I mentioned in the beginning that I was having issues with it. It does work, but it has given me some difficulties. I do need to clean the cartridge port. I think that's my problem. But in any event, there'll be a part 2 coming once I get all these games recorded and actually experience them. But since there are so many here, it's probably going to take me a few days. So don't expect it, like, tomorrow. But I will give it a shot, and I'll get back to you guys on this. But yeah, so this was fun. Till next time, this is Darkness, and I bid you all a fond farewell.